Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you the dissection of a sheep brain that I've been doing. So on this outside we have the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. These bigger lobes are called the cerebrum. The outer layer is called the cerebral cortex. This is covered by the pia mater, arachnoid mater, and dura mater. These are just thin layers that I've peeled back to further dissect the brain, but they just help to provide some extra covering for the brain and spinal cord. Inferior to the cerebrum here we have the cerebellum, which is also called the little brain. This is where muscle coordination and balance is located. And then just inferior to that we have the spinal cord here. So if I split it open I can show you some more structures. So we have what's called the gyrus and the sulcus. The gyrus, an example would be like this part right here, this raised structure here. And then the sulcus would be like in between this, in this valley here. That's just the groove between the gyrus of the brain. And then we have what's called ventricles. So we have lateral ventricles, which is right in here. We have the third ventricle, which is located here. And the fourth ventricle is this little slit in the cerebellum. This is where cerebral spinal fluid sits. To keep the brain lubricated. So one of the things within these ventricles is called the choroid plexus, which is just a network of capillaries that sit on the roof of the ventricles, and it helps to contribute to the production of cerebral spinal fluid. And then there's a structure that connects this third ventricle to the fourth ventricle. It's called the cerebral aqueduct. So that's what that structure is called. Then we have, in the whole brain, there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves that provide various functions for us throughout our entire body, and there's different ways to test those. Moving forward, though, we have a portion of the brain that's called the diencephalon, which is made up of the thalamus here, this circular structure, which is our sensory relay station. This is where nerve impulses are sent and they are relayed to wherever they need to go in the body for a function to be performed. And then the second part inferior to the thalamus is called the hypothalamus. This is the second part of the diencephalon, and this is our homeostasis center. So this is where our body temperature is regulated, thirst control, different things like that to maintain homeostasis throughout the body. Then we have this region in between the brainstem, which ends at the pons, and the diencephalon, which is called the midbrain. So then moving forward into this brainstem here, the most inferior portion of the brainstem right here is called the medulla. This is where our reflexes for sneezing and coughing take place, but also this controls our heart rate and blood pressures, different things like that. And then right in front of that here is what is called the pons. This is anterior to the medulla, and this is where the nerve tracts are contained that help connect the nerves that run throughout the brain to the other parts of the cerebellum and the brain and spinal cord. We have the spot in the brain right here. This little circle here is called the pineal body. This is the endocrine gland that's located on the roof of the third ventricle. This is where melatonin is secreted for our body. We have a region right below this lateral ventricle here called the hippocampus. This is where our emotional states are dealt with, and also where our short-term memory and long-term memory conversions take place. We also have what's called the hypophysis here, so this little flap here, it's also known as the pituitary gland. This is where endocrine glands are controlled. Hormones are secreted to help with those. We have the optic chiasma, which is the crossing point of the optic nerves, but they removed the optic nerves, so it would be located up in here. There'd be an X somewhere, but I had a hard time finding that one. And then our olfactory bulb is back. Try to find it here. This contains the cell bodies that help with the synapse between the sensory neurons of the olfactory nerves. So that is that. And then I had to cut open this brain here, but to show you some white matter and gray matter. The white matter here is the myelinated axons, and the gray matter here deals with the unmyelinated axons. So that is my video on the dissection of a sheep brain.